Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight on our news.
The Deputy Prime Minister weighs in on Leslie Miller's multi-million-dollar lawsuit.
The Works Minister gives a breakdown of those Bahamas Power and Light VSEP payouts.
Our news is brought to you by Alive.
Welcome to Our News, and thanks for joining us. I'm Christina Dragovich. Topping news tonight, a staggering $70.4 million will be paid out to 314 Bahamas Power and Light employees who have accepted BPL's voluntary separation packages. Minister of Public Works Jasmine Bannister giving a detailed breakdown of that multi-million-dollar figure in the House of Assembly this morning. Jasmine Brown has the details in this report.
Bannister revealed the startling figure inside Parliament today as he told fellow MPs that after all is said and done, the VSEP payouts will total more than $70 million.
The total sum that will end up being paid out with this exercise is $70,403,315. Let me say that again. $70,403,315.
Bannister said the $70.4 million will be paid out once the voluntary separation exercise at Bahamas Power and Light is completed in 2020. Of that hefty figure, just over $56 million had been paid out by the 30th of June.
Speaker, we seek to be transparent in what we do.
The voluntary separation exercise opened on May 18th and closed on June 8th. Bannister said of BPL's 1,038 employees, 314 applications were received and approved. 219 employees left the power company on June 30th, making up the largest group. The remaining employees have been approved for staggered exits, which will conclude in June 2020. According to Bannister, the division that will see the biggest staff cut is field operation. 75 people in that department accepted VSEPs. The second highest was the Family Island Division, which saw 63 VSEP applications. Rounding off the top three was the Energy Supply Division, as 61 people accepted VSEPs.
Speaker, this exercise was conducted partially with funding from the Pension Fund Administrator and partially from funds secured by BPL on 2nd July 2017. In its recent borrowing exercise, which this Honorable House recently passed a resolution to authorize. A total of $75 million was received in two tranches, less bank fees, legal costs, and stamp tax. That leaves the current loan balances at $211 million and $35 million respectively.
Bannister says the cash-strapped corporation has to become leaner and more competitive.
There is no question that this exercise will improve the financial viability of the company, making it leaner and more competitive, and permitting it to recruit and hire qualified young people within tightly controlled limits. BPL cannot be permitted to balloon out of control to an unmanageable size ever again.
Bannister adds that based on the existing headcount, BPL expects to reduce salary expenditures by an average of $13.6 million annually over the next 5 years. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Former Tall Pines MP Leslie Miller's multi-million-dollar lawsuit against Bank of the Bahamas is not the only lawsuit against the government. Today, the Deputy Prime Minister revealed several individuals have sought legal action as well. Jillian Gray tells us more.
Tall Pines MP Leslie Miller continues to push ahead with his $9 million lawsuit. The Deputy Prime Minister is speaking out and saying that that lawsuit is rather concerning.
Whenever you have a situation go before the court, you don't know what the outcome is going to be. And so obviously we would not have had that in our budget. And so from that aspect of it, yes, I would be concerned about that.
According to a writ filed in the Supreme Court, Miller is suing the Bank of the Bahamas for $9,642,500.28, plus damages for alleged breach of contract with regard to 7 companies financed by the bank whose assets were transferred to the Bahamas Resolve Limited and have since been put on the market for sale. Miller and his companies are also suing the Attorney General and the Treasurer of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas for $9,846,639.40, plus interest for failure to pay out rent money he claims was due under 5 leases with the government signed December 1st, 2016. However, his attorney warned yesterday if Resolve Bahamas forges ahead with its action, that figure could hit around $70 million. Well, it turns out Miller isn't the only one suing the Bank of the Bahamas.
There are other legal actions that we are aware of. We make decisions based upon the best interests of the Bahamian people. This is not about any one person or any one contract. This is about what is in the best interest of the Bahamian people for the short term and for the long term.
Earlier this year, Turnquest told Parliament that there were a number of bad leases that were hampering the government's financial plans, citing 2 cases where the government owed between $13 and $14 million for property leases, although no government worker has ever occupied the building. While addressing the state of those long leases, the Deputy Prime Minister said the government is looking to terminate those contracts.
Various forms of these leases that have been issued, and so we're looking at all of them to determine what is in the best interest of the Bahamian people. Because even in some instances where there may be a penalty for cancellation, it may be less than if you carry forward with an unfair contract. So we're looking at all of these scenarios, and we'll make the best decision on behalf of the Bahamian people.
The Deputy Prime Minister said while they are terminating some contracts, there are others that are still beneficial to the government that they will retain. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jillian Gray.
Well, the government is taking legal action against the boating company at the heart of a fatal boat explosion in Exuma. This comes after authorities say Four Seas Adventures defied a cease and desist order issued following the June 30th incident, which left one American woman dead and other tourists severely injured. On Sunday, the Port Department received reports that an unmarked vessel that was unregistered, unlicensed, and staffed by Four Seas personnel was engaged in charter tours from Hurricane Hole in New Providence. Officers from the Port Department, the Royal Bahamas Police Force, and Defense Force are engaged in action to detain the vessel. Officials also issued a final warning letter advising the company of prosecutorial action against the owner and operators of Four Seas Adventures. Meanwhile, the head of the Bahamas Maritime Authority's Casualty Investigation Department in London is investigating the cause of the boat explosion and is in the process of completing that report. In other news, days after the Progressive Liberal Party called for a singular National Heroes honor for former Prime Minister, the late Sir Lyndon Pinling, former opposition leader Loretta Butler Turner asserted that PLP Chairman Fred Mitchell once called for her late grandfather, Sir Milo Butler, to be honored as a national hero. This as she dismissed controversy surrounding the decision to honor Sir Roland Simonet. Giorgio Bain reports.
The former MP says she's not particularly interested in the racial conversation surrounding the National Heroes list, but more concerned about why no women made it to the top rank and why none of the original committee members were invited to vote. As for the controversy surrounding Sir Roland Simonet and whether the country's first premier deserved to be honored as a national hero, Turner called the heated debate a waste of time. She also questioned if senior members of the PLP knew their own history.
I think it's an absolutely moot point. It's a waste of time. Therein lies the problem with the process of politicians getting involved. As for the PLP suggesting that Sir Lyndon, I have no difficulty with any of the people they've selected, but the PLP obviously doesn't know its own history, because it's the PLP that named and operatives within the PLP, the current chairman of the PLP, to be exact, Fred Mitchell, who I said started the movement with myself, who said that Milo Butler should be the first named national hero. So they're contradicting themselves. The FNM is contradicting themselves.
The list is not a church honors, according to Butler Turner, who said that the choices were not made on who is the perfect person, but who altered Bahamian history.
Whether it's Sir Roland Simonet, whether it's Sir Lyndon Pinling, obviously they were humans. We're not here to create saints. This is not a church honor. This is a national honor. They're humans. They all made mistakes.
According to Butler Turner, she would have been more comfortable with a more diverse committee instead of a group of people whom she accused of pushing their own agenda.
I think that already the political directorate made a grave error in, being a part of the process. I think process is really what people want to see. And that process truly should have, in my opinion, been driven continuously by a distinguished group of distinguished Bahamians.
Reporting for our News, I'm Georgia Bain.
In news from the courts, a 16-year-old boy of Rosewood Street was charged in magistrate's court today with murder. The teen in the purple shirt was charged alongside 18-year-old Antonio Thompson in the dark blue shirt and 18-year-old Marquella Dean, the lone female in the pink T-shirt, with the July 13th murder of Sean Augustine. According to police, Augustine and another were shot near the clinic along Blue Hill Road. The trio also picked up an additional charge of attempted murder. They were not required to enter a plea and were denied bail. The matter has been fast-tracked to the Supreme Court, where they will be served with a voluntary bill of indictment on October 18th. Also from the courts, 22-year-old Keith Allen of Windsor Lane in the light blue shirt was charged with murder. Police believe Allen is behind the July 8th murder of Shandor Neely. Allen was denied bail and will return to court on October 18th, where he will be served with a voluntary bill of indictment. He was remanded to the Bahamas Department of Corrections. And a police reserve of over 20 years found himself on the wrong side of the law today. 55-year-old Dwayne Acosta of St. Joseph Avenue was charged with having unlawful sexual intercourse with a 13-year-old girl. The incident is believed to have taken place on Saturday, July 14th. Acosta was charged in court number 8 before Magistrate Subusola Swain and was not required to enter a plea. He was denied bail and returns to court on October 18th. He's remanded to the Bahamas Department of Corrections. Still to come on our news, weeks after a young mother was killed on Munnings Road, her area MP speaks up. The details when our news returns.